Hi, my name is Shujie. I'm an ICU nurse from Melbourne, Australia. Today, let's explore the topic of organ donation from the Chinese cultural perspective. Organ transplantation is a life-saving medical treatment whereby organs are removed from living or recently deceased donors and transplanted into people who are critically ill due to organ failure. Around the world, there is a significant shortage of organs available for transplantation. Much literature has pointed out that in many Western societies, Chinese ethnic people have a substantial presence on the organ transplant waiting list. However, they held more negative attitudes and were less willing to donate organs compared with Caucasians. Let's have a look at some of the demographic and health-related factors which can influence Chinese individuals' willingness towards organ donation. Two research studies report that women have more positive attitudes, have better knowledge about organ donation, and have greater donation intention than men. Research studies have reported that younger people have better educational attainment, are more willing to discuss their decision about organ donation with their families, and are more willing to sign an organ donor card. Moreover, one study identified that geographical region was an insignificant factor for donation intention. Apart from demographic factors, a study in Hong Kong reported that blood donors were more willing to donate their organs, had better knowledge about organ donation, and signed more donor cards when compared with the general public. One study found that family members were more likely to consent to corneal donation if the deceased had an not for resuscitation order, because these families were more prepared and more accepting the impending death. Now, let's have a look how Chinese culture can influence one's attitudes towards organ donation. The Chinese culture mainly evolved from the teaching of three philosophies, Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Although organ donation appeared to be contrary to some particular sayings or remarks of those three philosophy systems, the central principles of the three philosophies do not oppose organ donation. Confucianism emphasizes filial piety, a virtue of respect for one's parents, elders, and ancestors. It dictates that individuals should return their bodies in the same intact condition that they received from their parents. Therefore, removing organs is a violation of this principle. By contrast, Tsai in 2013 comments that Ren, benevolence, is the basic Confucian tenet. It asks people to extend their love to all other people. Therefore, the central principle of Ren actually supports organ donation. Buddhism believes in reincarnation in the Pure Land. Many Buddhists argue that the dying process can last for hours. Removing organs from the deceased will disturb the process of transmigration, and the deceased will lose the chance to ascend to the Pure Land. However, some Buddhists contend that the basic Buddhist moral commitment is great love, which is being benevolent, merciful, loving, and helpful. Organ donation is an act of altruism, and the deceased will be rewarded in their reincarnation. Taoism respects nature, and it believes that human body parts have a one-to-one relationship with the nature. For example, the liver, heart, spleen, lungs, and kidneys are governed by wood, fire, earth, metal, and water respectively. Some believers argue that organ donation will break the balance and affect one's readiness for immortality. On the other hand, Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, stated that the essence of nature is to make up for the insufficiency with the surplus. After death, the body becomes surplus. Therefore, organs can be given to people who need them. So far, we have discussed some demographic and cultural factors that could influence one's willingness towards organ donation. What are some other potential barriers against organ donation for the Chinese people? Let's first look at the Chinese people's communication about death. A few research articles pointed out that in the Chinese culture, it was believed that one should not talk about death or dying because it would bring bad luck or curse. As a result, when misfortune happens, many Chinese families do not know the wishes of the deceased in regards to organ donation. Moreover, when making the decision for organ donation, the Chinese families often feel isolated and difficult to seek help from the network of friends because death is a taboo in the Chinese culture. Wu and Lu in 2011 reported that the norms held by the significant others, in particular parents, were the most important factor influencing on Chinese individuals' views on organ donation. In another qualitative study, some young participants discussed that they were reluctant to become organ donors because they perceived their parents would object to this idea, would consider them as disobedient, and would suspect they were being misled by others. The third potential barrier against organ donation is the Chinese family dynamics. In the Chinese culture, family is regarded as the core structure in the society. Multiple literature articles argued that disagreement among family members was found to be the most common reason for refusing deceased organ donation. The Chinese traditional values not only require people to respect the authority of the senior family members, but also emphasize that all family members should participate in the decision-making process and the interest of the family is beyond the individuals. The last potential barrier I would talk about is the lack of trust in the healthcare system. 3 studies reported that fear of organs being sold on the black market was one of the top 3 reasons for the objection to a deceased organ donation among Chinese people. In addition, many Chinese families expressed a concern that if they consented for organ donation before the patient passed away, the medical staff might not try their best to save the patient and might announce death earlier for harvesting organs. In the last part of this video, I will discuss the experience and the needs of Chinese donor families during the pre-donation period. A study by Tong et al. In 2006 stated that many Chinese families experienced extreme shock, disbelief, and confusion when they first heard about the tragedy. All the study participants had difficulty in understanding the concept of brain death. Many families also reported a great level of stress, and the stress mainly came from other family members who objected to organ donation, unknown negative consequences of organ donation on the deceased's afterlife, as well as many financial and legal issues related to the death. A study by Shen et al. In 2001 summarized that during the pre-donation period, all the Chinese families needed clarification on the cause of death, the meaning of brain death, the possibility of survival, and the details of organ donation procedure from the physicians. In addition, most Chinese families expressed a wish to spend more time with the donors, as they believed that the donor would still sense their presence and would feel less pain before the organ removal surgery. Moreover, over 60% of the Chinese families wished to perform religious rituals for the donors, and 64% of the families needed help for tangible, financial, and legal issues. About a quarter of the families asked health professionals for emotional support, especially for the elderly family members. Thank you for watching this video. The content of this video was based on a literature review that I completed for the same topic in June 2019. Unfortunately, there was not much recent literature available for this topic. Further research is definitely warranted in the Australian healthcare settings.